Sitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandar Agom Ikamaniyam Vishesha Shobham
Govindam Hari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Hari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Hari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Shri Guru Padma Kevala Bhakti Satma Can someone please play cartels? We have only one pair of cartels. This is a little too less. Please, maybe in your rooms or somewhere there are cartels, and let us have a nice cartel kirtan. Yara prasade vai e bhavato riya Bhakti Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Acharine Nivesesa Sunyavadi Bhaskajari Sakarine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Bhaskajari Sakarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivashadi Gaur Bhakta Binda Jaya Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Gauranitai. Gauranitai, 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 Gauranitai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Om Vishnuvad Paramahansa Paravara Jakacharya Astata Satasi Simate Sivaingres Silave Charana Ravinda Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaja Shila Prabhupada ki jai. Anand Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Shila Prabhupada ki jai. Namacharya Shila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda ki jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Mathura Dham ki jai. Navadvip Mayapur Dham ki jai. Ganga Mai Yamuna Mai ki jai. Bhakti Devi Tulasi Devi ki jai. Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. While Keshava Maharaj sets up, can I please request you to open for a while all the windows? It is important when many people come in one room like this. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamunadi Jamuna Tira Vanachari Yamunadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopichana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopichana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Jaya Vrindavan Dham, Vrindavan Dham, Jaya Krishna Balaram. Jaya Vrindavan Dham, Vrindavan Dham, Jaya Krishna Balaram. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Nitai, Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagat Pate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarobhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudhi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Should we put the screen maybe a little bit
Back,
like
yeah.
50 centimeters?
So, Hare Krishna, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. If someone can just give me a thumbs up when it's there. I'll see here. I can see here, so it's okay. You just... like this? Okay. Is it something I have to do on here?
You hold it.
Okay.
Yeah, that should be fine.
Should be? Okay. Okay, so good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming again. We are continuing our discussion on Uddhava's journey. When I gave the title for the seminar, I actually gave the title Krishna's Final Instruction, which is obviously the Uddhava Gita, but I thought then when I was thinking of what to speak, then I was thinking, but I have to say something about Uddhava before we talk about Uddhava Gita, otherwise it's not contextualized. So then I began thinking, okay, what to say about him. And then in the end, talking about him took up 75% of the seminar. So actually, the Uddhava Gita will only actually be the last session because there was so much to say before. Because if we don't understand these things, then it's difficult to fully appreciate the Uddhava Gita. So that's what we'll do. So today we're continuing. So if you remember, I was mentioning that we'll go through 4 things. Yesterday we went through Uddhava's position, why he's such an exalted soul. Today we'll be talking about Uddhava's transformation, and then we'll be talking about Uddhava's aspiration and what his deepest aspiration is, and how that might inform the aspirations that we should have in our lives. And then we'll end by talking about Uddhava's learnings, the Uddhava Gita. Okay, just waiting for this to come. All right, so maybe I'll just do a summary of yesterday before we kind of begin today. So Uddhava's position. So in order to talk about Uddhava's position, we summarized yesterday the Purva section of the Brihat Bhagavatamrita, in which Narad Muni tries to find out who got the most mercy from Krishna. So if you remember, Narad Muni goes on a journey, and who's the first person he comes to? The Prayag Brahmana. He comes to Prayag, Allahabad, and there he sees a Brahmana engaged in beautiful devotional service to his Shaligram Shila, and he's touched by that devotion. It's very, very simple. Patram Pushpam Phalam Doyam, just a leaf, a flower, a fruit or water, but done with devotion, captures the Lord. But then he was directed by the Prayag Brahmana, there's someone more exalted than me. Who's that? The southern king, the king who lives in the southern states, because he's Nityam Navanavastasya Jayate Paramotsava. Every single day is a festival. Every single day is a celebration. Sometimes we say festivals or Ekadashi are the Bhakti Janani, they're the mother of all devotion. But for the great devotees, every day is an opportunity to invest. And there you need to go and meet Brahma. So he went to see Brahma. Brahma takes incredible responsibility. He's managing the whole universe. If you take responsibility, definitely there will be complexity. Once a devotee asked Prabhupada, I'm temple president, what's the job description? Prabhupada said, if something goes wrong, it's your fault. Okay, this is difficult. So Brahma takes incredible responsibility. So when Narad came to him, Brahma said, no, it's not me. If you want to know, you need to get out of this material world, because Brahma, Bhuvana Loka, from the highest planet down to the low, we all could be susceptible to falling. Therefore, you need to go beyond the material world. You need to go to Shiva. So he went to Shiva. Shiva is glorified. Tapyante lokatapena sadavo prayaso jana. How do you know who's a great personality? Just look at them and see how much voluntary suffering do they take on to relieve the suffering of others. Param aradhanam. There's no higher way to worship Krishna than this. So the exalted Vaishnavas, they're ready, all suffering. Okay. No problem. So he went to Shiva, and Shiva said, no, not me. They call me Vaishnavanam Yathasambhu, but there's higher. There's a Bhakta Shiromani. If you want to know who got the most mercy, go to Prahlad. So he went to Prahlad, Sutala Loka, and then in Prahlad's presence, Prahlad said, no, not me, I just remember. But we have to be active, because Krishna and Nitya Das, we are the servants of Krishna. So if you want to know who got mercy, who did the most service? Hanuman. So he went to Hanuman, and in Kim Purusha Loka, in Hanuman's presence, Hanuman said, no, not me, because the Lord was in my life, but he left, but there were others he was constantly with, and that is the Pandavas. The Pandavas, the Lord they didn't just serve the Lord, but the Lord served them. The Lord became their messenger, their charioteer. The Lord became their savior in so many situations. My God, they're so exalted that the Lord comes personally to serve them. But they said, no, we still have somewhat of a formal relationship. Yes, we're friends, but Krishna has a formal tie to us because we're both working in partnership to make the world a better place. But there's another family which is much more exalted, who is Krishna's own family, and that is the Yadavas. So then he went to the Yadavas, and the Yadavas said, yes, definitely, but there's one amongst us who Krishna trusted. Remember, it's one thing to trust Krishna. We're constantly asking, how can I trust? How can I have more faith? How can I invest my heart in Krishna? But the more advanced devotees ask themselves the question, what can I do so that Krishna will trust me? And if Krishna trusts me, then you can understand that someone is very exalted. So Uddhava was trusted by Krishna. So Narad went to Uddhava, and then finally Uddhava explained that I don't know how he ended up to me, because there are devotees who are more exalted than me. And it works. Thank you so much. No worries. You gave me time to do a summary. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right. Okay, so like this, he then said, no, it is not me. It is the gopis of Vrindavan. So this is very, very profound. This is the progression that was there. So you see here, this is very, very telling for us. Uddhava, and then Uddhava points to the gopis. So this is very, very deep point to understand. So what was it? How was it? What happened that made Uddhava realize that the gopis, they are the exemplars of the most intense type of devotional service? That's what we will try to discuss today. This is a very, very elevated topic beyond my comprehension, but Srila Prabhupada has given it to us. It's important for us to meditate on it and try to see if we can take something from it. So, actually, before I do this, let me just do something here. So, Brihat Bhagavatamrita I was mentioning yesterday is the essence of the Bhagavatam. But the essence of the Bhagavatam must mean that what the Brihat Bhagavatamrita is talking about is already contained within Bhagavatam. Otherwise, how can it be the essence? Therefore, there's one way to see that this is, if you take this to be the entire Vedas, you definitely couldn't fit the Vedas inside that box, but figuratively. Then the Devi Bhagavata says that the two eyes of the Vedas which direct one into Dharma are the Vedas and the Itihas. So in the entirety of the Vedas, there are two eyes. These are the two eyes of Dharma which make you help you understand what to do in every situation. And that is the Vedas and the Itihas. But the Devi Bhagavata says that beyond that, there is the heart of the Vedas. And the heart of the Vedas is the Srimad Bhagavatam. Why? Dharma projita ketava. All cheating religion, all subsidiary religion, all tangential dharma is rejected. And save pumsham paro dharmo. You only get the highest religion there. And therefore, the Bhagavatam is said to be the heart of the Vedas. And in the Bhagavatam, still there, right? Okay. In the Bhagavatam, there are many cantos, and oftentimes we hear that the 10th canto is considered the heart of the Bhagavatam. So the Bhagavatam is the heart of the Vedas, and the 10th canto is the heart of the Bhagavatam. Later commentators go on to explain that if 10th canto is the heart of the Bhagavatam, then there are 5 life airs which keep that Bhagavatam, that heart of Bhagavatam going. And what they explain is that these are 5 very, very special chapters in the Bhagavatam. Sometimes it's mentioned to be the Rasa Panchadhyay, but other times it's mentioned like this: chapter 21, chapter 31, chapter 35, chapter 39, and chapter 47. These are said to be 5 very, very intense chapters within the Bhagavatam, because love is expressed in these chapters in its most intense form, which is love in separation. And therefore, the 21st chapter of the Bhagavatam is Venugit, the song of the flute. When Krishna plays his flute, what kind of emotions does that trigger within the Brajabasis? And then the 31st chapter graze the cows in the pastures of Braj. So they explain, Atatiyad Bhavan Anikananam Tutiyugayate Tvam Apasyatam Kutilakuntalam Shri Mukham Chate Jada Udikshitam Pakshmakridrisham. They said, when Krishna, you go out during the day to graze the cows, Truti, one moment feels like a yuga. And then they say, and when you come back and we see you, Shri Mukham Chate, when we behold your face, Kutila Kuntalam, which is surrounded by locks of very beautiful hair, then we blink. And when we blink, we think, Jada Udikshitam, Pakshmakridrisham, Brahma made a big blunder, because he made eyes which have eyelids, and that means for one moment we can't see you. So this is a very special chapter. And then 39th chapter is very, very special because this is known as Viraha Gita. This is the chapter where Akrura comes to take Krishna and Balaram from Braj, and therefore incredible separation. This chapter sometimes is said to be the most emotional scene. The most emotional scene of the entire Bhagavatam occurs in this chapter. And then the 47th chapter is also very, very important because this is known as the Brahmara Gita. This is the song of the bee. And this is particularly important for today's instruction because Uddhava was witness to this. Not just witness to it, it's actually Uddhava that triggered all of this. 47th chapter. So sometimes it's said that this 47th chapter is the heart of the heart of the heart of the heart of Bhagavatam. It's a very, very special chapter. And therefore, thank you so much. Therefore, it's said that when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in the Gambhira, then he was feeling separation. But what kind of separation was he feeling? He was feeling specifically the separation that's described in this chapter, 47. So this and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's feelings in the Gambhira are basically mirroring each other. And therefore, this is this chapter which we are going to discuss. So this is just a little background. So now I mentioned that the 39th chapter of the Bhagavatam is perhaps the most emotional scene in the entire Bhagavatam. So this is the scene. Srila Prabhupada had devotees paint all of these instances in the Bhagavatam because he said they're windows to the spiritual world. So these pictures are very, very special. When we were taught to do book distribution, then the number one tip was when you meet people on the street, show them the pictures. Because when people see the pictures, their minds are blown. But it's not just for distributing books, it's actually wonderful once you start reading the books to actually look at these pictures, because just by looking at the picture and meditating on it and trying to enter deeply into understanding what is actually happening here, what are actually the emotions being expressed here, then one can enter, perhaps this gives another opportunity to enter deeper into the pastime. So we know Srila Prabhupada, often when he talked about these paintings, he was very much seeing, like the first devotee who painted the Nishingadev picture, the famous one. They came to show it to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada looked at it and he said, "Very good, more blood." So you could, my God, Prabhupada was really entering into it. Another time, Jadurani had painted a picture, Jadurani Mataji, and Krishna was holding a garland in the picture, and Srimati Radharani was holding a garland. She was looking in a different direction to Krishna. So Prabhupada looked at her and said, "Oh, Srimati Radharani has another boyfriend?" So she was crestfallen. She thought she made a big aparad. And then Prabhupada could see, and Prabhupada said, no, it's okay. Srimati Radharani is looking for Jadurani to give her a garland because she has painted such a nice picture. So it's possible to actually look at these pictures not just as pictures, as Prabhupada said, as windows to the spiritual world. So sometimes you can just take these pictures and meditate on them deeply. So we have to kind of see what's actually going on here. We know Akrura has come, and Akrura, Krishna and Balaram have mounted the chariot, and now the gopis are entering into a very, very heightened emotion. It's very difficult to understand what are the gopis feeling here, but I guess the narrations of the Bhagavatam, if we hear them closely, we can get some idea, and also some idea from our experience. What is their separation? First thing is that gopis are very young girls. So it's like when very young girls give their heart to something, then it's very hard. It's like, they don't just give a little bit, they give everything. It's like children are like that, young people are like that. When they're in, they're all in. So the first thing we have to understand is that the gopis are young girls. They've given their hearts. So therefore, now it's like the emotions are becoming very great because Krishna is leaving. What makes this even more emotional is that there was no sign. There was no warning. There was no prior notice given that Krishna is going to leave. Akrura just turned up. And so this makes it even more emotional. What makes it even more emotional is that the gopis know we don't have any formal tie with Krishna. We're not married to Krishna. We don't have any formal tie with him. So he's not formally bound to be with us. So that makes it even more uncertain. And then what makes it even more uncertain is they don't know if Krishna is going to come back. So all of these emotions are piling one on top of the other, on top of the other. And therefore, the gopis are feeling incredible separation. But then, Krishna does something which takes it to another superlative degree. What does Krishna do that makes the whole situation and their feelings even more intense? Anyone can think? Krishna does one thing which just makes it like unbearable. The Bhagavatam tells us, Ayasya iti dautake. In these words, dautake, Krishna sends a duta. As the chariot is leaving, Krishna sends a duta, a messenger. And what does that messenger tell the gopis? Ayasya iti. I will return. Now this takes everything to a superlative degree because there's two types of disappointment. Hopeless disappointment and hopeful disappointment. Which one do you think is worse? Hopeful disappointment is worse. If you know someone has gone and they'll never be back, it's disappointing, but at least there's closure. But the moment you keep it open, the moment you give an opportunity, the moment you say there's a glimmer of hope, then you can't live, and at the same time you can't die. So therefore you are in a suspended existence. And therefore the gopis said, when Krishna, you uttered these words, you sent us into a ghostly existence because we couldn't live and at the same time we couldn't die. And so this just sends everything to a higher level. And so the separation is heightened. It's said that you can know how much you love someone by how much attention you give when they're present, by how much separation you feel when they're absent. But the gopis' love was so superlative that even in Krishna's presence, they felt a heightened separation. And when Krishna finally left, and that just went. So when we kind of meditate on some of these points and then we look at this picture, we kind of can enter more deeply into what is actually going on here. So Krishna left, and the gopis were living a ghostly existence. And this was the situation in Braj. It said that not just the gopis, everyone was not in a proper frame of mind. One of the commentators says the trees were drying up, and even all the trees in Braj. What is Braj without the trees? The trees were all to leave their body, but there was only one way the trees were staying alive: by the tears of the gopis. So the trees, the flowers, the animals, the associates, and all the Braja gopis, all in incredible separation. So, we can read from the Bhagavatam. Please repeat after me. Maita prayasham prashthe duraste gokulashriya smarantyonga vimuyanti viraho kantya vivala maita prayasham prashthe duraste gokulastriya smarantyonga vimuyanti viraho kantya vivala maita prayasham prashthe duraste gokulastriya smarantyonga vimuyanti viraho kantya vivala. If anyone would like to repeat. Ladies. Maita prayasam prashthe duraste gokulastriya smarantyonga vimuyanti kantya vivala. Ladies. Maita prasam prashthe duraste gokulastriya smarantyonga vimuyanti viraho kantya vivala. Translation in purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. So, Uddhava is with Krishna in Mathura, and Krishna has just called Uddhava to tell him to go to Braj. So he's explaining why he wants him to go to Braj. Translation. My dear Uddhav, for those women of Gokul, I am the most cherished object of love. Thus, when they remember me, who am so far away, they are overwhelmed by the anxiety of separation. Purport. Whatever is dear to us becomes an object of our possessiveness. Ultimately, the most dear object is our very soul or our self. Thus, things in a favorable relationship to ourself also become dear to us, and we try to possess them. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, among countless millions of such dear things, Sri Krishna is the most dear of all, even dearer than one's own self. The gopis had realized this fact, and thus they were stunned in separation from the Lord because of their intense love for Him. Although they would have given up their lives, they were kept alive by the Lord's transcendental potency. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So Krishna left, and then Krishna killed Kamsa. Not just that, Kamsa's brothers were all killed also. And not just that, the wrestlers were also killed. So Krishna did a pretty complete job. He did what he had set out to do. He went to Mathura. Akrura had called him to battle with Kamsa. Job done. Krishna did it. So the natural question arises, once Krishna did it, why didn't he just go back? Why didn't he keep his word? He said, I will return. I will be back soon. Why didn't Krishna just go back to Vrindavan? The question also arises, if the Brajabasis were so aside with separation, once Krishna had killed Kamsa, why didn't they just go to Mathura to see him? Not far, just about half an hour. So why did they not go? And why did Krishna not come? So this has been the subject of many, many conversations in the Shastra, much analysis, far beyond my own capacity to describe. But essentially the Acharyas describe that there are external reasons why Krishna didn't go back, external reasons why the Brajabasis didn't come, and then there were internal reasons why Krishna didn't go back, and internal reasons why the Brajabasis didn't come. Externally, the reason Krishna didn't go back is because although he had killed Kamsa, he knew the project of killing demons is not done. Sometimes it's like that in ISKCON. You start a project with a 1-year deadline, and 10 years later it's still going on. Still going. So Krishna knew this is an expanding project. Yes, I've killed Kamsa, but that's not the end of the game. Because Kamsa is associated with Jarasandha. Kamsa is associated with Shishupal. Kamsa is associated with Dantavakra. And these are all formidable people, and they've made alliances with Kala, Yavan, and so many demons. So Krishna knew this isn't the end of the story. The project is still going on. And therefore, if I go back to Braj now, it's not going to be right, because Mathura is going to get invaded, and even they may come to Braj, and I don't want to disturb the situation. So let me finish the situation. Let me close the project. Then it said, but then why didn't the Brajabasis come to Mathura? So the Acharyas say, well, the external reason is that Krishna had told them, I'm coming. And even when Krishna had killed Kamsa, Nanda Maharaj went back, because Nanda Maharaj was also in Mathura at that time. Nanda Maharaj went back and he reassured all the Brajabasis, yes, Krishna is coming, Krishna is coming. So the Acharyas say the reason that the Brajabasis didn't go to Mathura is because they had some reassurance that no, Krishna is coming. So sometimes it's like that. Like you're waiting for someone's call and you know they're going to call and you're looking at the phone thinking, shall I call them? And then you go, no, maybe they're just about to call. Let me just wait a little longer. So externally it said that's the reason they didn't go. But then there are deeper reasons. Internally, why did Krishna not go back to Vrindavan after killing Kamsa? Because it said, well, Krishna says one thing. He says that I wanted to make their devotion more intense. I wanted to heighten their viraha, because there we can meet in a more intimate way. Because viraha means separation, but it also means vishesha, rahasya, unmilam, a very, very special, confidential type of meeting. So, some say that. Some say there's a deeper internal reason why Krishna didn't go to Vrindavan. He didn't go back. Because Krishna was a debtor. Krishna was indebted to the gopis, and Krishna was baffled, bewildered, bemused. He had no idea, how do I pay them back? If there's someone who you have a debt to, then generally what you do is you avoid them. Because seeing them makes you feel like, oh my God, feel bad. So the Acharyas also sometimes say that Krishna didn't go back because napadaye ham, niravadya samyuja. I can't repay you. And then the Acharyas say, but then why didn't the Brajabasis come to Mathura? They say internally there was a reason also why they didn't come. Because Mathura was not the place in which they could express themselves freely. Mathura was not the place in which they could share what was really going on in their heart and interact with Krishna free of any other encumbrance. And therefore, in this way, different reasons are given for the separation to continue. And so this separation was going on. So Krishna killed Kamsa, and after Krishna killed Kamsa, then his parents actually sent him to Gurukul. Why does Krishna have to go to Gurukul? Yes, because Krishna grew up in Braj. And Krishna in Braj was a cowherd boy, a Vaishya. But now Krishna came to Mathura. Krishna had to play the role of a Kshatriya. And therefore, to be trained as a Kshatriya, he needed to go to Gurukul. To be trained in the arts that a Kshatriya needs to know. So Krishna went 64 days, learned 64 arts. And it said that when Krishna came back from Gurukul, that was the time when he called Uddhava. Krishna had many, many associates in Mathura. His whole family was there. But Uddhava, as we mentioned yesterday, was very, very close to Krishna in many, many ways. And when Krishna thought that I need to send a message to Braj, then he thought of Uddhava. Krishna was struggling to find, who shall I send to Braj? Who will be able to understand? Who will be able to appreciate? Who will have the ability to be able to do this very, very important task for me? And Krishna chose Uddhava. You see, Jiva Goswami explains in Gopal Champu that in Mathura they had almost like an unspoken agreement that nobody talks about Vrindavan here. In Mathura, nobody talks about Vrindavan. Number one, because they can't really understand Vrindavan and how the Brajabasis interact with Krishna. But number two, because if they start talking about Vrindavan, they're scared that Krishna may just develop the attraction to want to go back, and therefore he'll leave us. And therefore it said, in Mathura, no one really talked about Vrindavan. But Krishna had to find someone. So Krishna chose Uddhava. So Uddhava was enlisted with the duty, the task to go to Vrindavan. And as we know, that was only one reason. The other reason is that Krishna wanted Uddhava to see Vrindavan. If you want to broaden your horizons, then you need to broaden your association. They say if you're the smartest person in the room, you need to change room. In other words, if you're around people who are much more established than you, then that can broaden your horizons. In the modern self-development world, they call this the law of six. In other words, if you're surrounded by 5 physically fit people, you'll be the 6th one. If you're surrounded by 5 extremely knowledgeable people, you'll be the 6th. And if you're surrounded by 5 spiritually intense people, you'll be the 6th. In other words, this is transformation by introduction. And so Krishna wanted Uddhava to be the 6th. He wanted him to learn about the intensity of Braja Bhakti. And so Krishna sent Uddhava to Vrindavan. And so that whole journey is described, that whole interaction is described in the Bhagavatam, but then also expanded by Rupa Goswami in the Uddhava Sandesh. Here he goes into detail, explaining more intricately what happened on that journey. And then after many, many poets in the generations following wrote many, many poems adding extra insight and subtleties. Therefore, whenever you hear someone talk about this, you can always hear something new, some new detail you never heard. Because this journey has been the object of much attention by all the great acharyas. So Uddhava went on the chariot to Braj. He said that when Uddhava was going to Braj on the chariot, in his mind he was thinking, what will I say? Uddhava was the disciple of Brihaspati. In today's terminology, that's like a triple PhD. And he was thinking, now I'm going to go to Braj, a simple village, to speak to the young girls who are, milkmaids. What conversation will I have with them? Imagine you take a triple PhD professor and then you tell him to go and give a 3-hour class to 7-year-old kids. What will you say? So Uddhava was thinking, anyway, Krishna has told me to go, at least I'm equipped with his letter. I'll go there and I'll spend a little bit of time there. I'll do what Krishna wants me to do and then I'll just come back. I'll fulfill the instruction and just come back. So that was Uddhava's thinking. So Uddhava arrived in Braj. It said he arrived at sunset. This is very significant. Sunset is a very, very beautiful time in Braj. Because sunset is the time when all the cowherd boys come back. And who knows, at that time Krishna was not there, but maybe this day Krishna will come back. So that was always a very much anticipated time in Braj, the time of sunset. And so Uddhavji arrives at sunset, and it's explained that he comes in on this chariot of Mathura, but nobody sees him. How can you not see him? There's a chariot. It sticks out. In Braj, there's no chariots. There's only bullock carts. Why did no one see him? Because it's explained that when all the cowherd boys and the calves and the cows come back at sunset, then there's a massive cloud of dust. And so Uddhava kind of came when there was this massive cloud of dust. So he almost entered Braj like inconspicuously. And then he arrived in Braj, and his first thought was to go to the home of Nanda Maharaj. So one poet says he came into Braj, and then he was thinking, where is Nanda Maharaj? He asked one Braj, where is Nanda Maharaj's house? One Brajabasi says, no, you can't see. Just look at the stream. Stream? Yeah, there's a stream of water there. Just follow the stream. This is the stream of tears. And if you follow this stream of tears, then you will reach the house of Nanda Maharaj. And so that's what Uddhava did. He followed the stream of tears. Satyananda Maharaj writes a very beautiful poem, The Road of Tears. You have to have a road of tears. The road of tears leads to Krishna and Krishna's most dear associates. So Uddhava followed the stream of tears, and he arrived at the house of Nanda Maharaj. It's explained that Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, they were both obviously steeped in separation, but Nanda Maharaj was still externally able to talk, able to interact, able to engage with others. But it said that Yashoda, just not possible. It didn't matter who spoke to her, no one could comfort her, no one could console her, nobody could counsel her, and whatever anyone tried to do to converse with her, she was just not able to compose herself to even talk. And therefore, if you read in the Bhagavatam, Uddhava doesn't even speak to Mother Yashoda because she can't speak. Uddhava only speaks to Nanda Maharaj. And Nanda Maharaj understands Krishna Anuchar. Oh, this is Krishna's messenger, Uddhava. Yes, and then he begins asking Uddhava many questions about Krishna. And does Krishna remember? And does Krishna ask about us? And what's Krishna doing? And what happened after Krishna killed Kamsa? So he asks many, many things. And he said that all night Uddhava and Nanda Maharaj are speaking together. So they passed the night like this. And then it said the next morning Uddhavji wakes up. He wakes up and he realizes, yes, now I must go and deliver Krishna's letter to the gopis. So in Braj, everything starts very early. So the Braja gopis begin early their duties in the village. So they are doing all their different items, different tasks for the day. Remembering Krishna. Sometimes it's said they're doing a spontaneous kirtan because they are churning and their bangles are like kartals. The rumbling of the mortar is like a mridanga. And while they're doing that in their mind and in between each other, they're recounting Krishna's pastimes. So kartals, mridanga, glorification, spontaneous kirtan. So the kirtan is going on. Satatam kirtayanto mam. Always chanting my glories. So Uddhava is there in the chariot, and in the distance the gopis notice, a chariot? No chariot, it's only bullock carts here. Chariot? And then they look closer and they realize, my God, this looks incredibly similar to the chariot that came when Akrura arrived and took Krishna away. And their first thought is that the gopis are thinking this is Akrura has come back again. Of course, they had a lot of anger towards Akrura because they said Akrura was the messenger of Yamaraj. Kamsa was like Yamaraj because Kamsa took Krishna out of Vrindavan. But Akrura was like a Yamaduta because the Yamadutas come and they rip the soul out. And therefore the gopis criticized Akrura. They say, you are just like a Yamaduta because you rip the soul out of Braj. And so they're thinking this is Akrura, and amongst them they're talking, Akrura, first he killed us, maybe he's come back now to take our bodies. And then they go closer and they see, no, this is someone who resembles Krishna. Oh, this is someone who resembles Krishna. The battery has gone, I think. What to do? Oh, okay, if possible, yeah. So, so they go up to this personality, and Uddhava is now looking at them, thinking, "What will I say to them?" So, Uddhava comes to the gopis, and the gopis realize this is a messenger of Krishna, and so immediately they begin questioning him. Why have you come here? What's the point? Uddhava says, no, I've come with a message from Krishna. He wants to send you some comforting words. The gopis in there. Anger is arising now. Says, comforting words? Why didn't he come himself? Why did he send you? If he really wants to comfort us, then he knows that we need his association. So why did he send you? Uddhava says, no, just please listen. He has sent a letter. I'm going to deliver the letter to you. And like this, Uddhava begins to reveal to them what Krishna has sent, what Krishna wants to tell them. So he removes the letter, he gives the letter to them. In some descriptions, it's mentioned that as soon as they take the letter from Krishna, then they begin smelling the letter. And they just kind of put that letter on their head and all over their body, because this is one way in which they can be close to Krishna. And so like this, in the beginning, they don't even read the letter. Just being close to something that Krishna has touched, that Krishna has engaged with, that Krishna has put his heart into, that already brings so much solace. But then Uddhava starts relating Krishna's message to the gopis. And as you all know, as soon as Uddhava begins delivering all this philosophy that Krishna wanted to give to the gopis are just not impressed at all. Yo mam pasyati sarvatra sarvam cha mai pasyati tasyaham na pranashyami sachame na pranashyati. Krishna says, just see me in everything. I'm all pervading. I'm everywhere. And if you see me everywhere and see everything in me, then you will never be lost, and I will be never lost to you. In other words, you'll always be able to see me. The gopis look at Uddhava. You don't understand. The problem is not that we can't remember Krishna. The problem is we can't get him out of our mind. Uddhava tries to tell them further. No, Krishna says the only reason that I stay away, the only reason that I haven't come back, the only reason that I distance myself from you is because I want to increase the intensity of love you have for me. And the gopis look at Uddhava and say, you don't get it. He wants to increase our intensity. There's nowhere else higher for our intensity to go. The next step is death. Does Krishna want to kill us? Then Krishna will have to incur the sin of killing a woman. And then Krishna will have to come and perform our funeral rites. Uddhava something is happening within him. He's realizing, my God, all this knowledge which I held in such high esteem, all this gyan which filled my heart and my mind for all these years, now I'm seeing that there's a type of rasa which transcends all of this tattva. So he's beginning to see all of this. Uddhava says, no, please take this philosophy, take these words of Krishna, take these comforting insights. And the gopis look at Uddhava and they say, we don't know where to put your philosophy. Every single inch of our entire being is hijacked by remembrance of Krishna. There's no more space for anything to go in. And seeing all of this, Uddhava has a transformation within him. Transformation by introduction. He begins to realize, actually, now I know why Krishna sent me here. Now I know why Krishna chose me to come here. Because Krishna wanted to introduce me to Vraja Bhumi, Vraja Basis, Vraja Leela, Vraja Gopis, and Vraja Bhakti. And he realizes this is why. And he becomes so enchanted by what he sees that he was thinking, I'll come and spend a few days and go back. And Uddhava ends up spending, different things are said, but generally 6 months it's said. Uddhava spends 6 months in Braj, observing, discussing, conversing, becoming affected by that energy that pervades this very, very special land. And so Uddhava undergoes an incredible transformation. And he goes back. he goes back after all those months. Krishna must have been waiting for him. 6 months. One commentator says when Uddhava came back, when Uddhava came back, then he also came back around sunset time, and he had heard Uddhava is back, so he was looking for Uddhava. And of all places, he found Uddhava milking a cow. So, Uddhava milking a cow? What are you doing? You're a triple PhD. You don't milk cows. Krishna realized, he understood. He has been transformed. So this is very, very deep. These, we can say something. It requires obviously incredible, immense purity to understand when Uddhava came and Srimati Radharani begins speaking to the bee. This Brahmara Gita, 47th chapter, 10 verses, where Srimati Radharani explains her heart in transcendental anger and separation. It's a very, very high topics. So, this is the heart of the heart of the heart of the heart of the Bhagavatam. And Rupa Goswami is basically explaining that everyone is looking for rasa. I can't write on this, right? Can I write? I can't write on this, no. Okay. Everyone is looking for rasa. And he basically says that there's 2 broad types of rasa. There's mundane rasa, which is chapala sukh. It's very transitory, it's very unstable, and it's ultimately very unfulfilling. And then he says there is bhakti rasa, there is the taste of devotion, there is the experience of divine love. And basically what Rupa Goswami is explaining in his analysis is that gradually what happens in the life of a devotee is that there is a transition in terms of where they find rasa. When Srila Prabhupada coined the term Krishna consciousness, he coined it on a verse. Krishna bhakti rasa bhavita mati kriyatam yadi kutopi labhyate tatra laulyam api mulyame kalam janma koti sukrater na labhyate. That this line, Krishna bhakti rasa bhavita mati, this is actually the Sanskrit line from which Prabhupada derived the term Krishna consciousness. So with the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, but ultimately with the International Society for Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Mati, the society which is meant to help you taste Bhakti Rasa. So we can say there are different levels of devotion. There's casual bhakti, there's committed bhakti, we can say there's purified bhakti. In casual bhakti, bhakti rasa is one rasa amongst one's life which is mainly mundane rasa. When one is practicing casual devotional service, then their life is mainly still driven by mundane rasa, but bhakti rasa is one of those rasas within the bigger world of mundane rasa. But when one goes to committed devotional service, then one is able to separate mundane rasa and bhakti rasa. However, one is still struggling. They're struggling to turn away from mundane rasa, and they're still struggling to develop a deeper taste of bhakti rasa. However, it's said when you go from committed devotional service to purified devotional service, then mundane rasa disappears, and now it's only bhakti rasa. However, in Braj, there is something beyond even purified devotional service, and that's passionate devotional service. And that is where bhakti rasa is taken and churned to higher and higher degrees. Emotional bhakti. And so this is basically the progression. Casual bhakti to committed bhakti to purified bhakti to passionate bhakti. And what is it that takes you from one to the other? To go from casual bhakti to committed bhakti, what takes you there is knowledge. Raga hina jane bhaje shastra agyay Vedi bhakti bole kore sarva shastra gay. That when you have knowledge, when you have sambandha gyan, then you go from practicing casual bhakti to practicing committed bhakti. But what does it then, what's the extra element that takes you from committed bhakti to purified bhakti? That is tivrena bhakti yogena. Very, very intense spiritual practice. That's what takes you from committed to purified. But then the golden question is, what then takes you from purified to passionate? And that is why Uddhava's journey and transformation is so important, because it gives us the clue. Introduction to Brajabhumi, Brajabasis, Brajalila, Brajagopis, and Brajabhakti. That kind of association is what takes one from purified to passionate. And so this very, very beautiful transformation is given to us by Srila Prabhupada, as explained in the Bhagavatam, to help us realize that don't stay at casual bhakti. Don't just stay at committed bhakti. Don't even think that at purified bhakti, that's where things have ended. But there's a even higher aspiration. And that's the aspiration that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given access to. Anarpita chiram chirat karunaya vatirna kalo samarpayitum unachvajala rasam svabhakti shriyam. Anarpita, that which was not given for a long time, samarpitam, is now being given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Access to this passionate, emotional practice of spiritual life. And in a commentary to this verse of Mahaprabhu's, describing Mahaprabhu, that he's come to give Braja Bhakti, Jiva Goswami says there's three things which are stopping the soul. He says actually there's one thing that's stopping the soul, and it's split into three. He says the one thing that's stopping the soul from attaining this gift that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to give is basically kapatya, duplicitousness. And he says duplicitousness manifests in three ways: dhana kapat, bala kapat, and prema kapat. One type of duplicitousness is dhana kapat. You have many, many things in your possession, but you don't offer that to Krishna. You hold back. Bala kapat means you're giving all of your resources that you have, but you're holding back your effort. You're holding back your endeavor. And he says prema kapat means you're giving all your resources and you're giving all your effort, but you're not giving your heart. And therefore, you have to also give your heart. And he says if one is able to overcome those types of duplicitousness, then by the grace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one can enter into emotional bhakti, as Uddhava experienced. And so, this is the transformation on Uddhava's journey. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay. I have a little bit of time if anyone would like to ask any questions or make any comments, or if there's anything I said which would like clarification on. Yes. This explanation is in the, I'll find the exact reference for you. It's in the Sandarbhas. in the Sandarbhas, Jiva Goswami is commentating on the 4th verse of the first chapter of the Adi Leela, this verse that I quoted, and he gives this breakdown. I can give it to you later. I can give you that. Thank you. Okay, I see some hands at the back.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for the class. My question is related to, well, of course the human experience is extremely different to the experience of gopis. Saying that we experience pain from being separated from the people that we love. And my question is, how do we make peace with separation without being afraid to love? Sometimes when you hate saying bye, you avoid the meeting altogether. Or when you do meet, you're not entirely present because of that fear.
Are you talking specifically about relationships of this world, or are you talking about with Krishna?
Relationships
Of this world. Okay, yes, thank you. Well, no, I'm just thinking of a story. No, I'll tell you the story and then I'll relate it. When I was joining the ashram, I was kind of umming and ahhing about whether I should join the ashram or not. And then one brahmachari sat me down, and I thought he was going to give me a long philosophical talk, but he just looked at me and he said, "Better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all." So I was thinking, is he telling me to get married? Like, well, I couldn't decode it immediately what he was trying to tell me. But then I realized what he was trying to tell me was just give it a go, try it out, and then if you lose it, it's okay. If you don't, it's okay, because I wasn't sure if I'd do this for my whole life or whatever. So that's what he said: better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. And perhaps there's some truth in that statement of Shakespeare that what is life without love? Prema dhana vina vyartha daridra jivan. Dasa kori vetan more deha prema dhan. Kaviraj Goswami says, prema dhana vina vyartha daridra jiva. If I don't have prema, then I must be considered a very poor soul. Dasa kori, therefore make me your servant, deha prema dhan, and give me the wealth of love. So the reason why the residents of the spiritual world, even though they feel the acute pangs of separation, they still never fail to give their hearts in love, because they realize that love is life. There's no life without love. Sometimes that example is given is like drinking a boiling hot sugar juice. When you drink it, it burns your tongue, but it's so sweet that you can't stop drinking it. So therefore, what's the value of a life without love? What's the value of a life without relationships? What's the value? It's not really any life at all. Sometimes we teach love, and the last 6 chapters are the yoga of how to let go. And then we ask people, what's the most important? And everyone knows, I can be successful. I can even become detached. But what's life without love? There is no life. Therefore, bhakti is the art of relationships. Therefore, even though it's painful, and even though we have to go through those emotions, it still doesn't hold someone back. But when one's vision is spiritualized, then even the pain, like I said, is a very transcendental type of pain. Therefore, viraha almost brings a closer meeting of hearts. So that becomes another transcendental type of separation. So anyway, these are some thoughts. All right. Yeah, I see hands here. Whoever wants to take it next. Yeah, okay. Yamuna.
Thank you so much for your lecture, Maharaj. When you were mentioning that the gopis were not going to Mathura and that Mother Yashoda was not able to speak at all, I was remembered on a session I heard from Amarendra Prabhu lately, and I think the lecture was called Mother Yashoda's Love or something. And then he were mentioning that actually the Brajbasis were going to Mathura every day and they couldn't find Krishna. And then I think if I'm not mistaken, he was also telling about the conversation Uddhava had with Yashoda, and I just wanted to clarify if I'm misunderstanding something or if there is another part where Uddhava was going, like that.
Yeah. As mentioned, this is described in many different ways. If you look in the Bhagavatam, then there's no real conversation with Yashoda. So I can't comment on that. I've not read that myself. In terms of the Brajabasis going to Mathura, I've also not read that, so that could be true. But it's also said that the Brajabasis, their eyes were filled with tears. And therefore it's mentioned also, because in another commentary it said that, but Krishna was still there because Vrindavanam parityaja padamekam nagacchati. Krishna never takes a step out of Vrindavan. So in one sense, Krishna is there. But the reason that they couldn't see Krishna because their eyes were hijacked by tears. And even though in one sense Krishna was there, they couldn't see him. So even if that is mentioned, if you're saying, then I'm sure it must be written somewhere. Probably the reason that they didn't see Krishna in Mathura, even if they went there, is because their eyes were filled with tears. So these are all very transcendental descriptions beyond. So yeah, those are some thoughts.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Thank you so much for sharing this rather, I would say, heavy topic in a way. I have one question about Balakapat and how to overcome that tendency, because I've personally carried that topic in my conditioned nature, not overcoming that ignorance and I would say inertia, because we all get, like nourished with so much strength, which is meant to be put in service and expression of love. So please, could you share on that?
Laziness, lethargy, procrastination, this is what I think you're talking about. How to overcome this, how to overcome laziness, lethargy, procrastination. If we analyze why we procrastinate and why we don't give our full energy to something, you could see that it's on many levels. The first thing is a lack of inspiration. In other words, if you don't have a vision, if you don't have something on the horizon that has enchanted your consciousness, if you don't have something incredible that you're aiming for, then there's a good chance you're going to procrastinate. But when your vision, when your aspiration, when your North Star is so vivid in your mind, when you wake up in the morning, you know, I have to do something about this because the aspiration is too exciting. Therefore, I tell people the best alarm clock in the world is purpose. So the first reason why we have procrastination is because we don't have a vision. But you may have a vision, but the second reason why you may procrastinate is because you don't have a plan. Because we don't know how today's activities are going to take me to my cherished aspiration. Because we don't know, what am I supposed to be doing today? What am I supposed to be doing in the next week? What's actually my roadmap to get where I need to get? So when you don't have a plan, you may also procrastinate. But sometimes, even when you have a vision and you have a plan, we still procrastinate. And that's perhaps because we don't have the right environment and the right association around us to inspire us that you can do this, you can go on this journey. And so I guess my analysis of how to overcome procrastination is, first you have to have a vision, and then you have to have a plan. And then you have to situate yourself in an environment in which you can thrive. And so the most impactful, the most influential, and the most inspired people in the world spend time investing in these three things. Investing in deepening their why, understanding their vision. Invest in reflecting and planning their life. And invest in building an environment and an association around them that gets them moving on a day-to-day basis. And if you do those things, then you'll find that you start becoming more and more active. Some thoughts?
Thank you. Would you say that counts for Swadharma and Sanatan Dharma the same, or
Same concept, I think. Whether you're talking and for a devotee, the Swadharma is not material. Yeah. Swadharma, actually, in the life of a devotee, yat karoshi, yad ashnashi, yad johoshi, dadashi yat. So they're not thinking the same way they think about their devotional service is the same way they think about everything. They say how you do anything is how you do everything. And therefore, for someone who's actually established on the devotional path, everything becomes a conscious endeavor. Everything, it's not like this material part of my life I don't really have much enthusiasm for, but then I have enthusiasm for the spiritual parts of my life, because everything is connected. Everything contributes and everything is invested back into samsiddhir haritoshanam. Otherwise, shrama eva hi kevalam. It's a waste of time. Why am I even doing this then? If it doesn't connect to Krishna, why am I even doing it? All right. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Maharaj, for your lecture. For me, it was very inspiring. I was just wondering, when you were talking about what takes you from purified bhakti to passionate bhakti, I just want to understand better. So this is an example of Uddhava, how he got the association of the gopis. So is it like, what does it mean for a practitioner of bhakti? What does he or she has to do to come to this passionate part? Is it like just hearing the topics? Because we can hear all the Gitas. Is it the same as this association, or is there something more needed?
Thank you. Rupa Goswami summarizes all the instructions of life basically into the Upadeshamrita. And then he says there is a Upadesha Sar. There is an essence of all instructions. Tannama rupa charitadi sukirtananu smrityo kramena rasana manasi niyojya tistan vrajay tadanuragi jananugami kalam nayad akhilamityupadesha saram. There's a Upadesha Sar, an essence of all instructions. And what is that? Tistan vrajay. I have to always live in Vrindavan. And how do you do that? Vraj, Anuragi, and Anugami. You have to follow a resident of Braj. So what does that mean? Your question is, what does that mean for us? Well, we know that the greatest Brajabasi, at least in our contemporary times, is Srila Prabhupada. And therefore, the first thing is to associate closely with Srila Prabhupada. What does that mean? Well, to read his books. What does that mean? To understand his heart, his mood, to serve his mission, to live one's life thinking, what would Prabhupada want me to do? When you live aligned with a Brajabasi like Srila Prabhupada, then by their association, one gets entrance. And so Srila Prabhupada was the ambassador of Braj. Srila Prabhupada opened the doors to Vrindavan. So to follow Srila Prabhupada. And then what does that mean? That yes, also in one's life, by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, there will be those who became touched by Srila Prabhupada's mercy and who are following in his mood and his desire for us all to love Krishna in Vrindavan. So at a certain time in life, we will become nourished by those Vaishnavas. So we seek out that association of sincere, intense individuals who are trying to love Krishna. And so in one sense, we don't have to overcomplicate it. We actually have to do the simple things really well. That's actually what it is. And sometimes people make it quite, like, how do I awaken Raganuga Bhakti? One devotee gave an answer which kind of made a lot of sense. He said, well, it's just like boys and girls. When they come of age, you don't need to sit them down in a classroom and explain what attraction is. Now I will teach you, listen carefully, like, pay attention. This is what it means to be attracted. When you come of age, it comes. Simultaneously, when one becomes purified, when one comes of age, when one becomes mature. But yesterday's verse said that, Divrena Bhakti Yogena, it quite has to be intense. Otherwise, okay, is that okay? I think we are. I see more hands, but I think we're over. Okay, last one.
Hare Krishna. I always wanted to know in the Bhagavatam when Shukadeva Goswami describes the queens that Krishna married, 5 queens, and then more, 16,108. And I always wondered, later in the Bhagavatam, he does it again when the queens meet in Kurukshetra. I was always wondering why Shukadeva Goswami bothering to do it again, like twice, a whole chapter in the Bhagavatam.
To describe the marriage?
It's the first time it's Krishna marries the 5 queens, and then it describes how he conquers the 16,100. But then in Kurukshetra, the queens meet and they relate to each other how they got married to Krishna. So I was just wondering why did Shukadeva Goswami explain
why
it
is
again?
that described twice?
Yeah.
In different ways. Yeah, I don't know if I could second guess Sukadeva Goswami why he. No, we find this often that pastimes are sometimes repeated. Just for example, I mean, even we're talking about Uddhava, like, for example, Uddhava recalls the pastime of Putana when they're speaking between Vidura and, Uddhava, and then that pastime is again obviously repeated in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam. So I don't know if there's necessarily always a meaning behind why pastimes are sometimes said twice. Sometimes it's just part of the natural flow of the narrative, that in that conversation it was just a point which came about, which was then described in the pursuance of other points coming about in that conversation. So basically, I guess what I'm saying is that I don't know of any reason. And my sense is that oftentimes there may not be a reason. It's just the natural flow of a narrative in which sometimes certain things are described twice. It's not just pastimes. There are certain verses in the Bhagavatam that are also repeated verbatim twice. Many. Actually, I thought there was only a few, but actually someone revealed to me that there's actually many more than I thought. And in the beginning, I thought that the two verses I knew that were repeated twice in the Bhagavatam, one of them is Tulayama Lavenapi. It's a very famous verse talking about the power of association with a devotee. And the other verse, which was repeated in the Bhagavatam verbatim, is what Krishna tells the gopis and what Krishna tells the wives of the yogic brahmanas when they come to meet him. He tells both of them basically go home, like go back. So these two verses are repeated twice. So I always thought, oh wow, that's because these are two very important. But then there's other verses in the Bhagavatam which are quite, in one sense, obscure. They're not like necessarily hugely deep philosophical points. But they appear in the Bhagavatam twice, pretty much verbatim. And so sometimes repetition isn't necessarily because there's a deep point that's being made. It may just be because it's just the flow of the narrative, like that. Some thoughts. Is that okay? I don't know what to do. This hands, shall I stop? I think I should stop. Yes, I think I'll stop. Probably because then we have another session and I don't want to. Okay, yeah, sure, please.
Oh, here I am sitting in New York, the very great, the world's greatest city, so magnificent city. But my heart is always hankering after the Vrindavan. Yes. I'm not happy here. I shall be very happy to return to my Vrindavan, that sacred place. But then why you are? Because it is my duty. I have brought some message for you people. Because I'm all.
Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.